Contingency log number 78. Codename Whipcrack. Scientific achievement is not always as lucrative as one may believe. The things we use now, from technological advancements to the various medicines we may take for granted today, they would need to go through many trials and error before reaching the point of public consumption. This would require a near-endless number of tests, many of which ending in utter failures, until any and all errors could be worked out. When it comes to technological achievements, it's typically the repeat building and rebuilding of machinery, trying to make each iteration better than the last. Towards the end of its process, you are usually left with a scrapyard of failed constructions and little harm to human testers. But when it comes to more scientific advancements, the test phase for this can be rather different. As they are being made for human use, they must ensure that they are safe. But this would require tests on biological subjects to identify any and all side effects of the product. These subjects typically being humans paid for their time and possible suffering, and controversially to many groups, tests can be done to animals. But within the town of Pork Belly, inside of a suburban home, lay a lab run by a pair of twin sisters who understand the process of testing their experiments and inventions. The subject of their tests being, rather ironically now that I think about it, being their little brother by the name of Johnny Test. Something he will either relish or dread, fully depending on how much interest he'll have on the test, and whether or not it would benefit him personally. And the experiments that get done to Johnny are as varied as you can imagine. They've managed to create a milkshake that can augment the strength of those who consume it. Johnny himself having grown to the full size of an adult along with it, built a scooter which can move at speeds fast enough to skip forward in time, even a salt that can, well, you see the image. Honestly, I should extend this contingency to cover them as well, as their inventions may be one thing, but their constant use of their brother to test the things they create is in of itself another concern. Not just because of their apparent indifference for what could happen to Johnny should their experiments go wrong, but because Johnny himself can be a rather loose cannon of a test subject, as his own personality can cause things to escalate, sometimes even going as far as to blackmail his sisters in order to gain access to some of their past experiments. These impulsive actions having caused harm not only to himself, but also to the city. For example, I mentioned the scooter he used, which can jump forward in time. Well, that came with an unforeseen side effect. That being the creation of a powerful shockwave that not only shut off the power to the city, but caused incredible damage to its infrastructure. And with every time he jumped forward, it would grow worse. Although I have to admit that not everything he does has been for his own selfish endeavors, as Johnny does show aspirations for being a hero, which led to the creation of the hero known as Johnny X, one with powers he'd hand-picked and his sisters managed to create for him. Having used these powers, he'd not only used it to fight off an alien invasion, but he would even be willing to sacrifice his own life in order to save the world. He'd even amassed his own rogues gallery, though it's not exactly what one would typically expect. As while they may have started wanting to destroy him, Johnny had slowly managed to turn a few of them over to his own side. Even those who still find themselves in conflict against him will at times find themselves working with him, even if reluctantly. Honestly, I have to give him credit. As someone with a large rogues gallery myself, it's commendable to watch someone else manage slowly decrease their own. This brings me into the middle of the line in trying to decide the threat level Johnny can realistically represent. As while the experiments that his sisters put him under and the inventions they create can bring massive amounts of damage to the world around them, more often than not, Johnny will only reuse past experiments that he knows works, hence why we see the emergence of Johnny X on several occasions. Even his impulsive personality could very well just be attributed to the fact that he is only 11 years old. Even his sisters, who are not much older than him, fall under an umbrella of childlike selfishness. Even with their intelligence, it's not too hard to believe that their lack of maturity can contribute to their actions. Which brings me to a rather different approach for a contingency. The first being to help create a form of structure for the test siblings, something that seems to be lacking within their home. This being due to a mother who is constantly busy with work, and a father who had little to no control of his children. It is my hope to introduce the test twins into a program for gifted children, one which will hopefully guide them to try safer experiments and, well, not use their little brother as a guinea pig. That said, they are rather proud of their inventions, and I wouldn't put it past Johnny to do whatever he can in order to prevent anything that could heavily restrict his use of the lab, likely resulting in some kind of property damage if it doesn't completely backfire him at some point. But in truth, the lab is the main target of this contingency, as everything that could go wrong with these siblings will usually begin here. But for all of their experiments, and as smart as the sisters are, I've been hacked into their systems for months now. In time, I've managed to create copies of their blueprints, though I'm still trying to work out the flaws in some of them. It's my belief that I could make use of some of their inventions for future contingencies. But more importantly, I've managed to recreate the technology that allows them to undo many of their experiments, that can create physical augmentations to someone, allowing me to undo anything Johnny can have done to himself at a moment's notice. That said, I can also use this should someone else manage to use the twins' inventions as well. As while they have a moderate level of security, the truth is, many of the enemies they've made over time not only know them personally, but many of them know the exact location of their home. While they seem okay with it, I've kept their home under watch just in case someone else decides to pay them a visit. Finally, I'm preparing a more final solution, one that I'm sure none of the test siblings would be happy with. But should things escalate to a point where I'm left with no other option, I may be forced to cut their connection to their lab entirely. I'll have to make contact with their parents, talk to them so they may see my side of this argument, and convince them that the kids' lab should be decommissioned until a time where they are older, and with any luck, matured enough to be able to use their inventions more responsibly. Personally, I'd rather not stifle the progress of the twins' scientific discovery, as I'm sure that in time, the twins can be a great help to humanity. And Johnny, who shows incredible promise, will likely be a force to be reckoned with if given proper training. And while I can't make him a Robin, I do have some Titan teams I'm planning for the future. If you also have a character you wish for me to cover, or just want to support this channel, I'll have a link to my Ko-fi page. There will also be a Google Doc with the list of characters who have ever been done or already commissioned by others.